Hi, this is Sarah, the Stitchin Mommy, and this is going to be a WIP parade to show all of my WIPs. On my previous update video, I mentioned I had 42 WIPs, and 20 of them were full coverage. I have since finished one, which you'll see next week in my regular update video. But I had a good amount of interest in people seeing my WIPs, and I've seen a few, at least 4 other floss tubers sharing all of their WIPs as well, so I thought it could be fun to do that for all of you. One downside for this, for me, is once I show all of my WIPs and get them all out and look at them, I'm going to want to stitch on all of them right now, which is not possible. So that's the downside, because it's going to be sad a little bit to see all of these and know that I can't stitch on all of them right now. It's just not possible. So, but it might help me remember some that I had kind of forgotten about. So anyways, let's get started. This might be kind of a choppy video, heavily edited, because I still have a cold, so if I need to cough or something, I might edit that out. I'm also surrounded by stuff here, and I'll probably edit out me gathering my things, because that's going to be a waste of time for you, and I don't want this video to be super duper long. It'll still probably be pretty long, but let's get started. If you're not interested in seeing all of my WIPs, that's fine. I will have a new video up next week, hopefully. That's a regular update video where you'll get to see everything I've been working on and plans for the future. So I have decided to, I sorted my Excel sheet by title so that my full coverage pieces would be kind of intermixed amongst everything. I had them originally sorted by brand, or so like all the Heaven and Earth designs were together. But that could get kind of boring if you're seeing all of these only partially started full coverage pieces all in a row. So I'm going to sort them, I sorted them by alphabetically. So first one is Aida the Garden Fairy by Mirabilia. And she's got all of these fun little things there. She is on, I believe this is her. This is how far I am on her. When I started this, I was with my mom, and she wanted me to do enough that she could kind of see all the bling. So I worked on her. I started in the middle and kind of worked my way up and did all of her face. It looks like there's still some things missing in her hair, but I did a lot of her wing and the beads and filament and everything, backstitching, so my mom could see what that would look like. But then I haven't done anything with her since then. So that's Aida the Garden Fairy. Next I have the Antique Shoe Collection, which I showed in my very first floss tube video, because I was considering doing this for February fandom, and I never actually got to it. So I haven't stitched on this in a while, but this is the Antique Shoe Collection. It's a Bucilla kit, and I have done 4 shoes. And these 3 are completely finished with all of their backstitching, and this one is, the shoe itself is mostly done, but there's a lot more ribbons, so I never got around to backstitching that one yet. But that is, I believe, excuse me, practically the top. There's this border thing here, but that is almost to the top of the pattern. Next I have April Fairy by Janlynn, designed by Heaven and Earth Designs. Quick Stitch April Fairy. And I started this for Stitch Mania, working it on the diagonal, 28 count 1/1, and that's my start on that one. Tiny little crosses. I hope to get back to this again eventually, as with all of these. My next one is Ashley's Roses by Mirabilia, and this is another Stitch Mania start. So you've seen this one somewhat recently. I started at the top and got a lot of these floral boughs finished, some of the vines and things. Lots of pretty colors. Again, looking forward to getting back to that one. It seems like there's an extra love in your heart for the ones you've started more recently. I don't know if other people are like that too. Probably because the other ones have been lingering so long that you just kind of let them continue to linger, whereas the ones you've started more recently are more familiar, and you still have that passion from your start that's kind of still there. Alright, my next one is Mini Bird Song, alphabetical with bird. I took out all the thes, a's, minis, quick stitches, and just did it by the main word. I have a bigger picture here. This is Mini Bird Song, Heaven and Earth Designs. The designer is Tatiana Fedorova. Stitching this on 40 count, and this is how far I am. 1/1 half stitch on 40 count, and this one is super fun. This top corner has a bunch of blue, but the rest of it is really fun with birds and flowers, and this fabric is so soft. 40 count fabric. My next one is Bodiam Castle, which was an April architecture start. And you will be getting a preview of what I will show in my update video, because I've been working on this as my travel piece. Here is where I am now. I'm adding the second color in the castle, and I'm almost done with the main, this color in the main pillars, and I'm getting low on this kit floss, so the DMC conversions of the anchor will be in these in between, and then wherever it is down here in the birds and flowers. But I'm using kit floss for all the main columns so that those will match. So there's Bodiam Castle, my current travel piece. Now that school is out, I'm not getting as much time on this, but I was able to take it to swimming lessons and do a little bit there while my kids were swimming. Next is Chaplain's Garden. This is a Janlynn kit, almost full coverage, and this was almost going to make an appearance in April architecture because of the house, and then I decided to switch it to the Nativity because I'd rather work on the Nativity. So this is how far I have gotten on this one. All the way down here with this green color, apparently. And I think this might be the path. No, just the yard, I guess. There's no path. Just the yard. But I did a good amount of the house, and I backstitched the windows to make them stand out, windows and door. And I think I got burned out on this one because I worked on this years and years ago, and it's very confetti heavy, and I hadn't done many things like that before, and still working in cross country with confetti tends, for me at least, it tends to discourage me pretty quickly because I'm not seeing a lot of progress as quickly. That's why as soon as I tried parking, it really helped, because then I could see finished areas quicker. So maybe I'll try parking when I pick this up again. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. Alright, my next one, I had it labeled on my Excel spreadsheet as Christmas wreath just because I couldn't remember what it was called and I didn't want to bother going to look up the book. But I looked up the book just now, and it's called Bountiful Christmas Tide. So it actually should have been a little earlier in my list, but that's fine. It's a Christmas wreath with fruit, and it's done on black fabric. And I have gotten, this is an old one. This looks like it's probably 28 or 25 count. It's pretty fat stitches. Worked over 2. And the light's coming through here, so let me try this. So I have the bow done at the top, and some of the pears and pineapples. So it's really fun to work on. My grandma, when she saw this at one point, asked me if these were beads because they popped off the fabric so much, each stitch. And to me, it's very clear they're X's because they're such big stitches. And a little bit of fabric shows through. But she was impressed and thought they were beads. So that's I think the only one I have on black fabric right now. But that's kind of a fun one. I keep considering bringing it out at Christmas time, but since I have the Christmas Queen with Mirabilia, that one usually trumps any Christmas stitching that I have, and I do that one instead. So that was in this Oh Christmas Tree Leisure Arts book. Forgot to mention that the first time. I don't actually have a title of this chart, but I'm calling it the Creation Sampler because it says, "In the beginning God created heaven and earth, the land and sea, the fish and fowl, all the living creatures, great and small." And I don't actually have I just have the chart. I don't have a picture, which makes it kind of fun to work on because it's like it's coming to life in front of me with no mock-up to go by. So I worked on this. I started this about 18 years ago, and it's on 18 count Aida, and it's got a border of animals and land, and then the words I read are in the middle. And so it's kind of fun. It very colorful, and I'm hoping to pull this back out in August for All Creatures Great and Small, the Stitch Mania thing and theme, and do some more on that because I think it's really cute and it would be fun for hanging near my kids' rooms. The next one is called Cruisin', Mickey and the Gang. This is a kit, a Mickey Unlimited Leisure Arts kit, and I have a good amount of this finished, and I was going to pick it back up a while back to sell on Etsy, but then the fine print makes it look like I can't sell it because it's Disney, even if it's a finished product. Here's as far as I got, all those fractional stitches. So I don't know, I think personally, I think if you're finishing something, you can sell it because it is your work that you're selling, not the pattern. But if there's a specific, no license has been granted to apply this product to decorate articles which will thereafter be sold. So because of that, I was like, So that kind of made me lose steam. I don't know that I like it enough to keep it anymore. I don't remember why I started it, but anyways, that's very close to being a UFO. The next one is Daisy Girl, which is a Leisure Arts booklet, and I thought this was super cute with all the little flowers and the little girl. And here is how far I got. Not a lot. There's her bodice and sleeve and her hand, and then I stopped. So not sure when I'll ever get back to that. This is on linen, it looks like. It's funny looking back at some of your older work. It's been so long since I worked on some of these. The next one is by Golden Kite, Empress Eugenie. This is the cropped version. I cropped the two rows of pages off of the top to get into the fun part a lot quicker. So here's this one. And you've seen this somewhat recently. I started this maybe Stitch Mania, maybe another time recently. But that's the first column of the first page that I am stitching. And they're half stitches. And I've seen people have a lot of this finished online. I've seen photos and it's so pretty. I really want to get to where all the ladies are. The next one is another golden kite. It's called The End of the Ball, and it's got this couple dancing, and she's got all these roses on the back of her dress and this cute little shoe, and there's some people socializing in the other room. I just thought it was really pretty, and I started up in this corner, and you can't see much of my start. I was starting a whole bunch of golden kites all at once at one point, and only got to where I finished the top couple blocks and subsequent cross country. This is on 24 count Congress cloth, 2/1 half stitch. So I would like to put more time into this. So far it hasn't ever come up with a theme that I'm following with Stitch Mania, so eventually. The next one is Fantasy Triptych by Teresa Wentzler, and I have worked on this for, I believe, April Architecture because of the castle. So you have seen this somewhat recently, and here's where I am on this one. I have the border done for the center, or the main shell of the border done for this panel and this panel, and a little bit of the middle border started, and a little bit of her started. All those fractionals, all and 1/1 charted skin, and a tiny bit on the horse's leg over here because they had similar colors to what was in her. And this is one that my sister-in-law started and did a good chunk of the castle, and I did some of these trees and the borders and her. So this is a dual project. It wasn't all me. The next one is The Flower Garden by Emile Vernon by Heaven and Earth Designs. This is a large one. Heavy confetti. I started this for Stitch Mania, and again got the first column on my first page. In this one I have a large format version, so it's a little bit shorter than a standard Heaven and Earth Designs page. Because of all the confetti, I wanted the symbols to be a little bit larger and easier to read. So that's that one. Really pretty. This one I have in my, again, I have it in my Excel spreadsheet as Flowers and Straw Hat because I couldn't remember the title. But it is a Paula Vaughn Midsummer Roses, and this is from a Leisure Arts chart. And this is my oldest WIP, probably a good 20 plus years old. And I think I kept not coming back to it because I kept remembering that the way I used to do fractionals is different than I do them now, and I didn't want to get in that and worry about being consistent or changing it halfway through. But as I look back on it, it doesn't look terrible. So I may pick this up again. But I have the whole hat finished with backstitching, and as well as a good amount of the fence and the pot and the flowers, the leaves down there. So I just have the top chunk of flowers and background. So it's maybe half done. And I have masking tape on the sides. I don't do that anymore. I probably could take it off, but I haven't, and I probably won't. So the oldest WIP I have. This is a needlepoint kit, actually. It's called Friends of the Library, which I liked because it's got kitties and books, both of which I like. Try to get as little glare as possible, and I started just a little bit of this I did the book at the bottom. So it's got printed needlepoint canvas, and I did the book there at the bottom with half stitches with the yarn, the yarn that they provide in the kit. So maybe someday. I'm too much of a cross stitcher to not have a exact placement of my stitches. I think the chart is very amorphous. I'll show you the corner in case you've never seen one, where there's just blocks and you say put this color here, put this color here, and it's really hard for my counted cross stitch nature to do that, so that's probably why I haven't done a whole lot on that one. This is another Heaven and Earth Designs. It's a former freebie called Furry Animals, and I was using this to test out a diagonal stitching with half stitches, which turned out to not work all that well for me. So when I bring this back up, I'll probably do columns again, because that works better for half stitch in my opinion. But that's as far as I got. I was a little surprised that all of these yellows are what I thought was going to be green. That corner looks a lot greener than it does here. So I'm curious what it'll look like when everything gets put together, if it'll have a greener hue when all of the colors are put on there. My next one is a golden kite called Grapes, the small version. They have a large full-size version also, but I chose the small version. And this is one that used to be my travel piece, so you've seen this a good amount. But here's where I am right now. I have the whole top row finished, and then I was doing horizontal parking until I decided I didn't like horizontal parking, and now I'm doing columns. So this is the bottom of the second row, and I think it's close to the halfway point, is somewhere in here. But I've got these fun grapes that are starting. This is on 18 count, full coverage. There's the stem, the grape stem, and the vines, and the leaf. I love this. Now that it's not my travel piece, I kind of miss it, so we'll see if I can bring it out for a good excuse at some point. Very colorful. I like that one. The next one is Iris, Quick Stitch Iris by Heaven and Earth Designs by Josephine Wall. And this is one I am going to be ripping out today, this week, and restarting with one strand instead of 2 strands on 25 count. Hopefully by my update video next week, you'll see where I've gotten to this week, because this is what I'm going to work on this week. Taking it out and restarting it for Wine and Whips. My next whip is a secret. I'm stitching it for someone who may occasionally watch my videos, so I won't be sharing it here. When it's done, I'll film a clip of it and insert it in the next update video after I've gifted it. So it is a Stitch Rovia pattern, my first and only Stitch Rovia pattern, and I'm doing a color conversion. So stay tuned. Hopefully before the end of the year that one will be finished and gifted. So the next one after that is one you've all seen. I consider this one whip my Snowflower Diaries pieces. Did a Joyful World stitch along with the months, and I'm doing one at a time, but it's all kind of one big project, so I consider this one whip, the Joyful World stitch along, and I finished July. You can see that in my update video. I'm stitching one every month, the month previous, a month early, so that it can be on display during the month that it is. And I have finished July, which I'll show you next week. So I can't show you that because that is technically not a whip because it's done. So stay tuned for that. The next one I have is Knitting Woman by Golden Kite. And There's this cute kitty, and she's knitting, and it's a lady with a little girl. This reminds me of my mom, because she has 3 girls. She loves kitties, and she loves knitting, so it's perfect. When it is finished, she will be getting it. It is not finished, but she knows I'm stitching it, and she knows that she'll be getting it. This is on 22 count, 2 over 1/2 stitch, so there's a good amount of show through, but I was still experimenting with what I liked in coverage, and this fabric was just the right size, and I had it in my stash, so I went with it. I have finished the top row completely, so you can see most of their faces, and have started in on the second row. I worked cross country when I was working on this one. So hopefully I'll bring that one back out again as well to finish it. Give it to my mom. My next one is La Soiree, the medium version by Golden Kite. And I started this as well for Stitch Mania. Also being stitched on 24 count Congress cloth. And I have the first 2 columns finished on that one. It's the start of the wallpaper. And all of these full coverage pieces, it'll be wonderful once I can get to the main subjects. A lot of them I am not there yet, so I am motivated to work on them, I just don't always get the chance. The next one is called the Love Letter, also by Golden Kite. This is the full version. They have a small version available, but I really liked all the details and thought it was going to be worth it, so I went with the big version. And I'm working my way across the top, and I have started to find the main subject. That's where I am. I've got about maybe 3 pages finished. This is the beginning of the feather and on her hat. And a little bit of her straw hat is actually showing up right here too. So that's kind of fun to finally get to that. And I love how realistic the edge looks with making it look like a feather. And this is 2 over 1/2 stitch on 25 count. My next one is my only other, I believe my only other needlepoint. This is a kit by Dimensions. It's called Moonlight Skaters Stocking. And I don't need a stocking for my family. I sewed them stockings out of fabric. I sew as well as cross stitch. But I liked her dress, the Victorian look of this. So, can you guess what I've done so far? I've done the lady. And really, I'm content with that. Since it's a since it's a printed canvas, I don't know that I can really stop there. But who knows? Maybe I'll maybe I could finish him and the lantern and just crop it and then frame it like that. Thinking on the fly, but I like that idea because really that's the only reason. Because of her dress. It was pretty. And I did it. I stitched the dress. So, my next WIP is Nantucket Rose by Lavender and Lace. And I started this for February fandom this year because it reminded me of Anne of Green Gables, who I am a fan of. And this is how far I got at that point. Just a little bit in the center, a little bit of her sleeve, a little bit of her skirt, a little bit of the bushes. Definitely want to work more on that eventually. See what I mean? There's so many fun ones. I want to work on all of them, but I can't because it's impossible. Alright, the next one is the Nativity, which is this one by Heaven and Earth Designs, artwork by Donna Gelsinger. And there is a mini version available now, but I have started the full version, and I like it. So for a split second I was tempted to switch over to the mini because I haven't gotten that far, but I think the details are nice enough that I want to stick with it. So this is how far I've gotten. The beginning of the palm tree, the first, I believe, 3 columns of page 1, which is fun. I love that the detail is coming out right away on page 1, so it's not just a blob of nothing. Because it's always really motivating to keep stitching when you're actually stitching something. So that's the Nativity. My next one is Princess de Broglie, I think. And this is a golden kite pattern, my very first golden kite pattern. And I have stitched this a variety of ways on 18 count, so it's pretty big. And here is where I am on this one. Got a chunk of the background going. And then a good amount. I have her face, pardon me, I have her face completely finished, and her hair mostly finished, and the start of her little bows in her hair. This is another one that I want to make some good progress on. The next one is Royal Holiday, and I just shared this in my last update video because I hope to work on this for Christmas in July. Here is where, this is by Mirabilia, and here is where I am now. And I have a little bit stitched all the way to the bottom, but this top chunk is of 100% finished, beads and backstitching and all. So my hope is to finish this bottom part of her dress maybe by this Christmas, but I keep saying that, and it's been like 5 years, every year. Maybe this Christmas, maybe this Christmas. But I made a good chunk of progress last year, so, and this year I'm hoping to work on it in July and maybe November, and give a full week to it each of those times. So we'll see. That'd be nice to get finished. This next one is the Simpsons one, which I showed in my very first video. I'm just stitching this for my husband because he used to really like that show when he was younger. I know they still make it, but he doesn't really watch it much anymore. And this is as far as I got. 32 count, 1/1, a little bit of Homer's head. I was planning to bring this out for February fandom as well because my husband is a fan. Never got to it, but it would be nice to work on eventually, someday. So it's not completely UFO'd. My next one is the Snow Queen by Shannon Shannon Christine Designs, in the World of Cross Stitching magazine from this past December. And this is how far I am now. And I also hope to work on this in July because it's got red, white, and blue. Even though it's not patriotic. My next WIP is Stitcher's Retreat, which is this one by Delphine Enjolras by Heaven and Earth Designs. It is still currently a freebie on their free charts page. And I am stitching a cropped version that takes off the top 2 rows, the bottom 2 rows, the first column and last and a quarter columns to leave just this middle little vignette of the actual stitchers. And this is what I worked on at the beginning of the month, and if you're on Instagram you will have seen the progress I made on that. Here it is. I thought it was another one at first because it's now a lot shorter than it used to be. I frogged out what I had started while it was big, and now I cropped the fabric down and restarted it, and I'm super happy with it now. Super happy. So I'm doing extreme cross country, one color at a time, and this is what it looks like now. top corner had a little bit of this color, and then this is the first lady. You can see this lady right here. It's her hair, and her bun is right here, her top of her hair, and this is the profile of her face. And then I carefully and many times counted over to the top of the other lady's hair. And she has a lot more of this color in her hair, so I was not able to get as much done on that before the week ran out. But this is definitely more exciting to look forward to than it was before, when it was just a mass of nothing in the background for 2 solid rows before I would get to anything fun. So that's my restart of that, and I'm very excited to have that ready to go for some more fun stitching. And the one right next to that is a stitching shelf, which is the Stitchin time without that hoop in the middle. And I'm doing the max color version in a large format chart. My plan is to do page by page vertically before moving down, so that I can get a little bit of each season to keep things interesting, rather than doing all of this and then all of this. I'm going to work down to kind of get all the different seasons a little bit sooner, because this is a beast of a project. A lot of colors, a lot of confetti, especially since I'm doing max colors, but I was a lot happier with the details, at least in the mock-up. So I'm not changing from max colors, but I will acknowledge that it's taking a long time to stitch. So this is how far I am right now. I have the first column of the first large format page finished, and I have a little bit of the second column, and a lot of colors filled in this column, because I started to work more in columns than strict block by block. So it won't take me a ton of time to finish the column, because it's already has a good amount started. And this over here is a 10 by 10 block I was stitching as a test to compare with my. I'm doing this 2/1 half stitch on 28 count, and I had wanted to test the coverage of 2/1 half versus 1/1 full cross, and I was very happy with that coverage. This is almost entirely black or really dark brown, and it looks great. So that little block is already finished, even though it's not connected. So there's that. I hope to get back to that again soon as well. It's a popular refrain in my with all the WIPs that I have. I do love them all, really. I just noticed that I missed one that I must not have transferred over to my WIP list in Excel. Norwegian ship under sail was an N that I must have skipped because I forgot to switch it in my Excel sheet. This is a golden kite pattern. This is the small version as well. And I started this in Stitch Mania also. Here it is. And I got one column started for a Norwegian ship under sail. Next is my temperature garden, which I am working on. And today I can do another flower because it's the 26th. And in June, there's 5 petal flowers, so every 5, after every 5 flowers, I can do another one. So here's where I am right now. And we finally got a lot of these bright colors, which are pretty to stitch with, but not pretty to live through. Pretty hot. But I love the colors. This one in the middle turned out nice with all the different colors on the same flower. 32 count 1/1. I love how cute and little and colorful that is. My next one is another golden kite called Three Sisters. This is another Emile Vernon piece, only charted by Golden Kite. The flower garden that I stitched, am stitching from Heaven and Earth Designs, is the same artist. This is another one that was a pretty early Golden Kite, I think my second one. So I have some work in the top corner that I started parking. This is the first piece I started parking on. But I also have cross-countryed a lot of the, or some of the first girl's face and hair. So that's where that one looks now. That's how she looks. And I think what I might do when I come back to this one again is work some up here. Like I was doing strict 10 by 10 blocks in parking before, but I think what I might do in the future is to continue with my column style. And then when I get a full 10 by 10 block finished in working column style, I'll come down here and work a few colors extreme cross country. So I'll do both, because it's fun working extreme cross country when you're working on a subject. In the background, it's not so fun. So this I'll do parking, this I'll do extreme cross country. This is several pages worth of stitching. It's not like this is the top of the page. So there's this column or this row, and even the bottom row here. So that's probably what I'll do when I bring that out again, is I'll do parking and cross country on the same piece, because I think that'll make that one get progress on both the background and the girl at the same time. And this piece reminds me of me and my two sisters, because when we were children at least, I was the blonde one, my older sister had red hair, and my younger sister had really dark brown hair. So this reminds me of my family. So my next one is a kit. It's called To Everything There Is a Season sampler, and it is a needles and hoops sampler or kit. And this is, I think, the first thing I ever stitched on Evenweave. It actually was kitted up with Evenweave because it's got some specialty stitches in it. This heart and these stitches are like satin stitches and things. So I've gotten a good amount done on this, and I love it. I love the colors. So for some reason it just kind of got parked, benched, but I do love it, and so I do want to get back to it eventually. This is how far I am on that. I can't read it backwards. To everything there is a season, a time to every purpose under heaven. And then there's the birds, and they'll have that specialty stitched heart in the middle. And I did a little bit of the specialty stitches on that zigzag as well. And this looks like it's probably 28 count. Yeah, 28 count. So there's that. Really pretty. Every time I look at this, I'm like, oh, that's so pretty, but I don't know, something just hasn't pulled me back to it yet. So we'll see when I get in the mood to work on that one again. Alright, my next one is Villa Mirabilia by Mirabilia. This is a big lady, and I worked on her a tiny bit this year, towards the beginning of the year. So you've seen her if you've been watching my videos for a little while. And here's where she's at now. So I have her face is done and backstitched, but there's no beads in it yet. And I put in some beads on her shoulders during the Amethyst challenge in February. And I have a little bit of all the different colors started down here. So that's where she's at, and she's gorgeous. Hopefully bring her out again sometime. And my next WIP is also my current focus for a finish, which is Waterfall in Yosemite. Again, their mini version. And this one's given me some trouble, but I'll go into that in my my update video. I am making progress on it. Not as quickly as I'd like, but here is where it's at right now. Working across the sky, and I've decided to start working down in the rocks as well to kind of go back and forth to keep my interest peaked. And I'll go into that a little bit more in my update video next week. So that's where I'm at right now on that one, and I hope the thought is to work on this till it's done, so we can, because we have a place in our home to hang it on the wall. Okay, last but not least, I have an art of stitching piece called The Young Gardener. And I know I think Golden Kite has a version of this too, and but this one I received free when I won the monthly giveaway one time with Art of Stitching. And I like it because I have a little girl, and when I got this, my little girl had just been born, so this can be us in our garden. But I only have a small start on it. 1/1 half cross on 32 count. And that's like a little bit of the garden in the background. In the top corner up here. So not too exciting. 19 full coverage pieces and 41 total whips. So we'll see how this goes, if I can manage to chip away at that number, or if I can, or if I'll have too many starts and make it bigger, or if they'll cancel each other out, because I'll have starts and finishes. But that's the current WIP Parade, and if I didn't mention any information that you are interested in, please feel free to ask. I don't know that I'm going to go through every single item and link it below, just because that would take an eternity. So if you have specific information that you would like on a piece, please feel free to ask in the comments. And I hope to see you again next week for my regular update. Thank you. Happy stitching.